Have you ever been so captivated by a story that you felt like you were right there experiencing it alongside the characters? Well, today's video is one such tale that will transport you back in time to the very foot of Mount Sinai. Imagine standing at the foot of a mountain. The air is thick with anticipation. Suddenly, thunder cracks in the sky. Smoke rises like a furnace, and the ground trembles beneath your feet. The sound of a trumpet grows louder and louder, so terrifying that the people cover their ears. But this isn't a scene from a disaster movie. It's the day God himself descended upon Mount Sinai to give his people a gift that would shape history forever: the 10 Commandments. Let's dive into this incredible story. Picture this: the year is 1500 BC. The Israelites, led by Moses, have just escaped slavery in Egypt. After crossing the Red Sea and wandering through the desert for 40 days, they arrive at the foot of Mount Sinai. Meanwhile, God calls Moses up the mountain for a very special mission. When Moses reaches the top, God says something incredible. "If you obey me fully and keep my covenant, you will be my treasured possession among all nations." Moses, filled with awe and reverence, agrees on behalf of the people. For 3 days, the people prepare, washing their clothes and purifying themselves, because the Holy One is about to appear. On the 3rd day, the mountain erupts with thunder, lightning, and a thick cloud. The people stand at a distance, too afraid to go near. Moses, however, climbs Mount Sinai, disappearing into the fire and cloud. Now, imagine the scene. Flashes of lightning illuminating the sky, the earth trembling violently, and the sound of a trumpet echoing through the desert. And then, just as suddenly, silence. God begins to speak, not to one man, but to the entire nation. Every word shakes the mountain and pierces the hearts of the people. Then Moses comes down the mountain with 2 stone tablets in his hands. The people are both awestruck and terrified. They ask Moses to convey their request to God. "Speak to us yourself," they say, "and we will listen. But do not let God speak to us directly, or we will die." The holiness of God was too overwhelming. So Moses became their mediator, climbing into the thick darkness where God was. There, in that moment, God revealed his law 10 commands, written by his own hand on stone tablets. Let's read them. "You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make idols. You shall not misuse my name. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Honor your father and mother. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. And you shall not covet." These weren't just rules. They were the foundation of a holy nation, a covenant between God and his people. Even today, their wisdom is timeless. Idols? We may not bow to statues, but we often worship money, status, or even social media. Bearing false witness? In a world full of lies and misinformation, God still calls us to truth. Do not covet? Even now, envy steals peace and joy from countless hearts. As the words thundered from the mountain, the Israelites trembled. They realized they couldn't keep these commands perfectly. And indeed, no human ever has. But that doesn't make the commandments any less important. They show us how much God desires relationship, how serious sin is, and how much he loves us. Back then, when Moses came down the mountain, the sight that greeted him was heartbreaking. The people had made an idol while he was away. They were worshiping it with music and dancing. Imagine the disappointment and sadness that must have filled Moses' heart. Yet he didn't give up on them. Instead, he reminded them of the covenant they had made with God. He showed them the law again and helped them understand its purpose, to guide them in a relationship with God. That's why the commandments aren't just ancient history. They're a reflection of God's character and a guide for how we should live. On that mountain, God gave Moses 2 stone tablets, engraved by his own finger. These tablets weren't just laws. They were a covenant, a sign that God wasn't just rescuing Israel from Egypt. He was shaping them into his chosen people. Thousands of years later, these same commandments remain. They're not outdated rules from the past. They're God's eternal principles for living. Jesus, the ultimate example of obedience, fulfilled the law. He summarized it simply: love the Lord your God with all your heart, and love your neighbor as yourself. The commandments remind us of God's holiness, his justice, and his desire for relationship. They tell us about who God is and how he wants to be known. The day God gave Moses the 10 Commandments wasn't about stone tablets alone. It was about God reaching down to humanity, writing his will into history. And today, his word is written not only on stone, but on hearts. So whenever you feel lost in a world of shifting values, remember, God's truth still stands firm, just as it did that day on Mount Sinai. And if you found this story as captivating as we did, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more exciting tales from the Bible. Thanks for watching. See you next time